So when we launch a Google Ads campaign, there's certain things that we still need to do in 2026. So in today's video, I want to talk about adding negative keywords, adding exclusion lists, and also account level negatives. Now you're probably thinking, why would we need to create or add in negative keywords, exclusion lists, and account level negatives in 2026? With all the talk of AI, why can't we just launch the ads and the ads be seen to the right people? Well, sometimes, a lot of the time, your ads will be seen to the right people, but also you will waste a lot of money with Google. Google is very good at wasting your budget on irrelevant terms. And what we need to do as advertisers is to say to Google, we don't want our ads to be seen for certain terms based on the search terms report. But before we even do that, I'm going to show you in a second how we create this optimization to make sure that we're showing our ads for the right terms, but we're also adding in these exclusion lists, adding in these negative keywords on a weekly basis to make sure that the campaigns are staying on track. Because like I said, if you don't do this, Google will show for terms which are completely irrelevant, and potentially you will get calls or form fills or a number of different factors, depending on what your conversion event is, based on the search terms that they think are relevant to you, but obviously they're not. That's why we need to be creating these, adding these negative keywords to really focus in the campaign. Now, if you're just launching a new campaign, you need to really focus on adding an extensive list of negatives. And based on all of this, what we're trying to do is funnel in to make sure that we're training the Google algorithm to show only certain keywords based on the keyword themes that we're creating with our Google Ads, that only our ads are being seen for the closest variants of those keywords to keep them on track. So there's certain things that we need to do. So let's jump into an actual screen share and go through the optimizations and ways that we can improve our Google Ads, but also save us money as advertisers. And that's just as important, because the amount of accounts that I audit on a weekly basis, and I see either no negative keywords added at all, they'll add in certain search terms. So if you're adding in search terms, Google's going to have even more room to show for irrelevant terms. You're still going to be charged for these. You can't then go back and ask for a refund. You will be charged based on the search terms. And if you don't add negatives in, then you potentially could be wasting a lot of money. And obviously, the bigger the budget, the more money you're going to be wasted. So fantastic putting keywords in, but we also need to control it by creating our negative keywords, our exclusion list, and our account level negative. So let's share a screen and jump through how we do this on a weekly basis. So let's jump into this screen share. So we can see we've got a Google search campaign, and I want to now run through the three different placements that I've just mentioned. So account level, exclusion lists, and obviously the weekly optimizations that we need to be doing. And the reason we're doing this, like I mentioned earlier, is we want to, Google Ads is expensive enough. We want to make sure that we're not wasting money on irrelevant terms. And by doing this process, we're going to eliminate a lot of wastage for our Google Ads. And remember, it doesn't matter if you're spending a small budget or a larger budget, the principles are still the same. We still need to be adding negative keywords. We need to know when to optimize and then when to take the foot off the gas, and then obviously let the data lead us. So for this particular campaign, I'm going to show you, first of all, how do we add account level negatives. So we're in a campaign. What we need to do is come over to the left-hand side, click on the admin, go to account settings, and then from here, we've got negative keywords, and we can add up to 1,000 negative keywords. So I've added in some common ones. So vacancies, training, jobs, interns, hiring, free employment. Terms like this, you can add these at the account level. Now, what this will do is when we add these at the account level, it will make sure that if you've got a number of campaigns, that these particular negative keywords we've added at the account level will be included for the whole account. So if you've got 3 or 4 campaigns running, these negatives will be included in those as not to show for Google Ads. So this is a great way where you can add account level negatives, which is straight away going to reduce the budget. And if you do this, if you build this list out, then potentially you're going to see a lot less wastage for your Google Ads. So once that's done, all we do, we just add in the keyword. So whatever that is, we'll put in free, I don't know, free book. Let's just do this as an example. And then all we do is we add it, save, and then we can see it's been added in free book, and then we can change that to exact, phrase, or broad. I quite like, depending on what type of structure we have in the campaign, phrase works quite well for negatives added at the account level. So once that's done, again, we need to then add this exclusion list, like I mentioned. So let's jump into the campaign itself again. So if we jump into the campaign, and then what we need to do is find the exclusion list. So what we need to do, come to tools, And then from here, click on shared library and then exclusion list. So if we click on exclusion list, and then what we can do from here, exclusion list load up. So now we're in the exclusion section. So we've just done the account level. We want to now create an exclusion list based on, if we were targeting, as an example, say, I don't know, men's shoes as an example. So if we were targeting men's shoes, we were promoting that for our e-commerce store, then in the exclusion list, before we even launch the campaign, we want to add an exclusion list and then launch the campaign, or do it literally whilst you're creating the campaign. And the reason is we want to make sure that Google doesn't show our campaign for terms that we know are going to waste our money. And again, if you're niching down, you know the terms that are going to be relevant for adding in as an exclusion list. Let's just do this very briefly and go over some simple terms that we can add in for this campaign. So we're targeting men's shoes. So what we do is click on the plus button, and then from here we could just create this exclusion list. And then from here, if we were targeting men's shoes, what we would do, we would then create the exclusion list based around what we want Google not to show. So potentially it could be men's tops, and then we can add these in as phrase match. I quite like using phrase. And again, men's shirts. I'm going to leave this as broad. I want to show you also, if you do put certain terms in, then it's not a problem with Google. Again, men's jacket. So we're saying to Google, we don't want these terms to be seen for the campaign we're going to launch, but we need to allocate it to the specific campaign that we're launching. From here, what we need to do then is exclusion list, save it. So if we jump into the exclusion list, we've created 3 negative keywords. And then from here, we haven't assigned it to the campaign yet. So click in here. And then once we click in the campaign, we've got these 3 terms that we just created. Now we left 2 as broad. So what you want to do is, if you come in here, if you want to change it from broad to phrase, just click on here. And again, we can do that straight away. Or if you wanted to be a little bit more specific, you could then assign it as an exact term. Or again, if you wanted to leave it as a broad, depending on your research or your niche, whatever you're trying to do, whether it be e-commerce or lead generation, the principles are still the same. You still want to be adding in an extensive exclusion list within your Google Ads. And then this list needs to then, you've created it, but you haven't assigned it to a campaign. So what we need to do is click on the bottom bit here, apply. And then from here, click on the campaign that you want it to apply it to, and then just save that. And then what will happen is Google will apply these exclusion lists to the campaign, which is going to reduce your wastage. The whole point of this is to make sure that we're not letting Google spend your money and just waste it on terms that, or keyword things that aren't relevant for your ads. So you've got the account level exclusions, you've got the exclusion list at this level, which is applied to the campaign that you're launching. And every time you launch a new campaign, you would need to either update your list or apply it to the specific campaign that you're actually running within your Google Ads. Let's jump into the actual Google Ads themselves and do some optimizations around the. We've created this exclusion list. What we want to do now is jump into the actual campaign itself and then do the weekly optimization, which is going to be around those negative keywords. Now, with the weekly optimization, with the campaign itself, we can see here, I've got this particular campaign broken into 3 ad groups. So what I want to do is make sure that we're optimizing, adding the negative keywords in for the campaign to keep it on par. So we're making sure that the negatives, or the keywords that we don't want to be targeted or paying for, we're adding those in. And we do that through the actual ad group level. So especially if you've got a number of ad groups. So here, what we want to do is click into the actual ad group, look at, if you come up onto the left-hand side, look at the search terms report. And then from here, we can actually see the search terms. So this is the search terms that have actually triggered your ads. And if you look at this, you can actually see the relevant themes that people are actually searching for. And then from here, I've got this blanked out because it's a client's account, but what we can do is start looking at the keywords that have targeted this particular ad group, and then we can start adding those negative keywords in. So as an example, if we were to say jump into these 3 keywords, which are completely irrelevant, sorry, not, let's jump into these 3, then we have a choice. We can add these in at the ad group level, or we can add these in at the campaign level. Now, if you added negatives at the campaign level, what that does is it makes sure that the negative keywords you're adding in, it will be relevant for the 3 ad groups that you currently have within your campaign. And if you do that, like I said, that negates for all the ad groups that you create. If you create 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ad groups, then it makes sure that the negative is added to those. If you have keyword themes based around the ad groups, then you can sculpt the traffic to go to the right places. So as an example, if you only wanted certain types of traffic based on this particular ad group based around keyword themes, then what you can do is in this particular, let's jump into say the B opt. And then from here, we would then potentially look at the search terms report. And if there was terms that were being fired for this ad group, but we wanted them to go to this ad group, we would add those negative keywords in and we will add them in at the ad group level. And that's called keyword sculpting. That will negative keyword sculpting. That will make sure that your ads will be seen to the other ad groups or the other ad group. Again, you would have to go into the other ad group, add it as a negative to make sure that the right keywords that are triggered go to the right ad groups. A little bit more advanced strategy. But again, if you wanted to get a little bit more granular with the data, then you could do that. So remember, we've got account level, we've got exclusion lists, which you launch or before you've even launched the campaign, which is going to cut your wastage by a lot. And then from here, you add negative keywords in at the campaign level or the ad group if you're trying to sculpt the traffic to send the traffic to the right ad group. A little bit more advanced, but I think it can make a big difference to your campaign because remember, when you're creating ad groups, a little bonus tip, if you're creating the ad groups, you want to make sure that they're based around keyword themes. And the only way you're going to do that with Google, especially if you're running broad terms, is to make sure that you're sculpting the traffic to go to the right place. So I hope that makes sense. If you want me to jump on and look at your Google Ads offering a free audit, love looking at other people's accounts, whether it's e-commerce or lead generation. We've been running ads for over 10 years and I spent millions upon millions on advertising, spending on Google Ads. So if that's something of interest, fill out the form below and check out my video, which you should see there based on the previous videos that I have within my Google Ads.